Most advice on planning a trip to Europe focuses on logistics. Book your flights, then your hotel, then figure out what to do. But that's how you end up with a trip that looks really good on paper and feels exhausting in real life. So in this video, I want to show you a different way to plan. One that starts with the experience you actually want to have and builds everything else around that. If you're planning your first trip to Europe, or just starting to think about it, keep watching for my easy planning framework. I'll go step by step through how to plan an unforgettable trip to Europe. Everything from choosing where to go to planning where to stay and deciding how to spend your days. Stop planning your trip around logistics alone. This video will help you close the gap between the trip you imagine and the one you actually experience. Hi, I'm Angela, and 7 years ago, I moved from the US to Europe. Ever since, I've been writing about my travel throughout Europe on my blog, Notes from Europe. Here on YouTube, I post weekly videos, things like packing guides, travel tips, and destination blogs. So be sure to like this video and subscribe. And if you can't watch to the end, be sure to sign up for my email course, How to Plan a Trip to Europe. I'll send you 8 emails going through all of the details that I cover in this video. Ready to get started? Let's go. The first step to having an amazing vacation that puts you at the center is to actually consider what type of trip you want to take. Really take a moment to think about the type of trip you want to experience. Do you relish slow travel or do you appreciate a faster pace? What's the goal of your trip? Do you want to learn something? Do you want to discover a different culture? Do you want to have an adventure? Maybe you just want to relax. For a lot of people, they actually want their vacation to hit a lot of these notes. And so you need to be able to voice that. You need to be able to identify that this is the purpose of your trip. The classic one is relaxation. Everybody wants to relax on vacation, but they also want to see the sights. This is how you get people coming home, needing a vacation from their vacation. Whereas all they really needed was to schedule a spa visit. Now, if you need some help on this front, then I would recommend going to my website and taking my travel personality quiz. This is a really quick quiz. It takes like 2 minutes. You fill out a couple of answers to questions, but it will help you to get an idea of what kind of traveler you are. Are you a little bit more adventurous? Do you like a laid-back travel style, or are you here to experience the finer things? I will put a link to that quiz in the description below, but it can really help clarify what it is that you want out of your travel. Step number 2 is to choose your destination. Here, I would strongly suggest letting your own interests guide you. Some folks will just say, do a quick scroll through social media, but that's the quickest way to pick a over-touristed destination that has way too many people in it. I think you will have a much better trip if you align your interests with the place that you visit. Now, on my blog Notes from Europe, I have a ton of blog posts with just this topic in mind. The best destinations in Europe for everything from art and architecture to history and food. So if you need a little bit of inspiration of what destinations to explore, then be sure to check out these destination inspiration posts on my blog. Once you have your destination chosen, the third step is to decide on the duration and timing of your trip. The duration of your trip, or how long, how many days, how many weeks you spend in the destination, this is really going to impact the pace of your trip. A 4-day trip is going to feel a lot more rushed than a 4-week trip. So it's really important to understand how much time you're going to be dedicating to your vacation overall and to individual destinations if you're planning a multi-stop trip. The timing of your trip will also decide what kind of weather and crowds you encounter. Keep in mind that some destinations are vastly different in different seasons. Venice in summer is going to be full of tourists and rather warm, whereas Venice in January has much fewer crowds and this kind of mysterious fog that drifts in off of the canals, giving it a completely different feel. If you're looking for some inspiration here, I have 2 fantastic blog posts. One on a 2-week Europe itinerary. It covers most of the major Western European hotspots that you would probably want to see on your first trip to Europe. And a second blog post on the best itinerary, in my opinion, for a 3-week Europe itinerary. This one will take you more through Central Europe, and if you have the time, that would probably be my favorite way to explore Europe. The 4th step is really important, and it comes before you book any airfare to Europe. You have to understand the entry requirements relative to your nationality, how long you can stay in Europe, and whether or not you need a visa. Europe is famous for its border-free travel zone known as the Schengen, but it's important to make sure that your destinations are actually in the Schengen. The Schengen does not include places like Ireland and the UK. It's also important that you check on whether or not your passport requires a visa to visit Europe. A lot of countries are very lucky to not need a visa to travel to Europe, but some of you will need a visa. The best way to figure this out is to Google your nationality, visa requirements, Europe. Make sure that you are on some sort of official website, and beware when you're Googling that you're going to come across third-party websites that are trying to sell you on visa and passport assistance services. You want to steer clear of those. I also have a blog post about passport requirements for Europe. This could be a help for a lot of you, so I'll make sure to link it here. Step 5 is to finally book your flights. I recommend Google Flights. I think it's the best search engine for finding flights. Google Flights allows you to search for specific destinations, as well as open-ended flights for the truly adventurous. There's also the ability to search for the lowest fares by using their date grid feature, and I really appreciate that you can use filters to exclude the number of layovers or particular airlines that you may not want to travel. I'm going to do an entire video here on YouTube about how to book flights to Europe, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you are notified when that video drops. All right, you've got your flights. The next step is to actually decide what it is that you want to do when you get to your destination. What you do and experience on your trip will form the heart of the entire vacation, so it's important to get it right. I always suggest experiences that are aligned to your own interests and things that are distinctive to that destination. A lot of European cities have many of the same attributes: a historic church, a wonderful river that has some sort of river cruise, a delectable food hall. So if you're not careful, a multi-city trip can really start to feel one note if you're just doing the same things in every destination. This is why I suggest figuring out what is super distinct to that region, something you can only do or experience in that place. I really like to document the things that I want to do, or the sites that I want to see, or maybe the photos that I want to take on a Google map. I will drop pins for all of these places, and I think that this is a hack that comes in handy later. This way, I'm able to identify what part of the city or the destination I'm going to be spending the majority of my time in. I like to call this my trip's center of gravity. This is like where I will be spending the majority of my time. It's a lot more intuitive to figure out where to stay when you know where the bulk of your activity is going to be happening, rather than trying to read a bunch of blog posts about the best neighborhood or the cutest area of town. If you need some help brainstorming what type of experiences to do, or how to find things that might align with your interests, like what does that even mean, then I really recommend that you download my Europe Experience Planner. This is a fantastic guide that walks you through not only the different types of experiences that are available and how to find the ones that are going to be the best for your own interests, but it also gives you some tips on when to plan different types based on your itinerary and kind of playing into your energy levels throughout your trip. Okay, I'm curious, what is one place or experience that you are planning your trip around? I would love to hear it if you drop it in the comments. The next step is to book your accommodations. And now that you know where you're going to be spending the majority of your time, it's going to be a lot easier. There are a lot of different types of accommodations in Europe, everything from hostels to 5-star hotels and everything in between. And they really do apply to different types of trips and different types of travelers. Hostels are great for budget-conscious travelers, solo travelers, or those who want kind of a very pared back, no amenities experience, but they value kind of a social connection within the place that they're staying. This is what hostels are known for. Next type of accommodation that has become very popular are short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are super popular for groups or longer duration travel. So if you're spending 4 weeks in a place, then probably going to make a lot more sense to stay in a short-term rental than in a hotel. I will say that Airbnb is kind of the most famous short-term rental platform, but there's also VRBO, which has a lot of fantastic options, as well as Booking.com. They have really been increasing the number of listings that they have for short-term rentals. What I would recommend is always read the reviews before you book. You want to make sure that what is being presented in the rental is in fact what previous guests have experienced. I've had some hit or miss experiences, but depending on the trip, short-term rentals might be a good option for you. Now, hotels are by and far the most popular type of accommodation that people will stay at in Europe. In Europe, we use a hotel star system that explains what type of amenities are available at the property. So you'll see everything from 2 to 5 stars. I suppose that there are 1-star properties, but I've never actually seen them. And I suspect that it's because at that point, you should just stay at a hostel. I have stayed at 2-star hotels for business trips, and they are very bare bones. That's all I'll say about that. I don't know that a 2-star hotel is worth it if you are like traveling across an ocean to come to Europe, because they can be really, really bare bones. I think a 3-star hotel is a sweet spot for a lot of people. You'll find a lot of tourist hotels that are 3 stars. And if you have the funding to stay at a 5-star hotel, then why not knock yourself out? But it's really important to remember that these stars do not correspond to quality. So again, here I recommend always checking previous reviews to ensure that what is being advertised lines up with what previous guests have experienced. Now, the final step once you have your accommodations figured out is to book your transport. If you are doing a multiple destination trip, then this will involve booking all of the intercity travel that you need to get from one destination to the next. And if you are staying in one destination for the duration of your trip, this will mean figuring out how you're going to get from various points of interest and how you're going to navigate the city itself. If you'll be visiting multiple destinations, then be sure to book a rental car or your intercity train tickets well in advance, especially if you're taking the train. Trains can be incredibly economical, but they do get more expensive the closer that you get to the departure date. Within destinations, you will find a lot of different types of intra-city transport. So a lot of larger cities will have these kind of like suburban commuter rail trains that will take you to points outside of the city. They probably won't take you to another city, but they'll take you to like suburbs or day trip destinations, things like that. Within the city, you'll also find some sort of underground train system, what we call here in Germany the U-Bahn, or what we Americans often know as the subway. You'll also often find tram or streetcar systems, as well as bus networks. One of the apps that I love for figuring out my public transportation routes is Google Maps. They actually do a pretty good job with just mapping you through a destination with public transportation. Another one that I really enjoy is Omio. Omio is also great because they will allow you to book some of your tickets on Omio, so you don't necessarily need to deal with like kiosks within the destination. But regardless, wherever you're traveling, make sure that you familiarize yourself with the public transportation ticketing system, because we're going through a lot of rapid changes here in Europe, and every city kind of has a different system. If you're in London, you can just tap your credit card on the actual machine. It's really easy to get in and out of a subway station. But if you're in Paris, they don't have that system. You actually have to buy a card and load individual rides or day passes on it. So it's going to be a little bit different everywhere. Just research that before you go. I'm going to do an entire video on how to navigate public transportation here in Europe. It's a totally different thing if you live in a like suburban area of the States and you've never been on a commuter train before. So be sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get a notification when I drop that video. All right, you're almost done with planning your trip here. You've chosen a destination, you've figured out what you're going to do when you're there. You've even made bookings for flights, hotels, and transport. The only last thing that there is to do is to actually prepare for your trip. When it comes to money, I always recommend traveling with a no foreign transaction fee credit card. Most traditional credit cards are going to put a 3% fee on top of any international transaction. That will add up really quick. So be sure that you have some sort of no foreign transaction fee credit card. This doesn't mean that you need to get like a points card or something that's going to charge you an annual fee. You can actually find quite a few of these that do not have any sort of annual fee, but making sure that you don't get charged these international transaction fees is really, really important. You'll need a credit card for giving to the hotel, to put down for a deposit. If you're renting a car, you'll need the credit card for incidentals. And it's just really good to have a credit card for any unexpected costs or emergencies that might arise. Be sure that you also buy an eSIM so that you can stay connected while you're on the go, that you don't have any problems with Wi-Fi, which is super important with helping you to navigate a city. There are a ton of different eSIMs out there. I will put a couple of my favorites in the description below. And finally, when it comes to packing for your trip, I would recommend packing as light as possible. Europe's cobblestone streets and notoriously narrow elevators and hallways make it really difficult to navigate with a huge checked luggage bag. And be sure to check out my blog post on the essentials that you need to pack for an international trip. I go into a lot of detail here on like plug converters and what you actually need to pack, so be sure to check out that blog post as well. And the last thing I will mention is it is always a great idea to have some sort of travel insurance. If you have one of these points credit cards that you pay an annual fee for, check what your benefits are, because a lot of those cards will actually include some form of travel insurance. If you just want to buy like a short-term policy, I have used Safety Wing in the past, and it's really painless to just pop in your travel dates for like $50. You can get coverage. So I will put a link to that provider below as well. All right, like I mentioned earlier, if you actually want some help putting all of this into practice, then I suggest enrolling in my free email course, How to Plan a Trip to Europe. Over 8 easy to digest emails, I will walk you step by step through all of these details. It's a lot more of a day-by-day way to kind of tackle each individual thing. So if you like a slower pace, then maybe the email course is better for you. If not, just rewind this video to the beginning and watch it again. If you're still in the planning stage, I would also recommend a few more videos that you can watch on my channel to help you plan an amazing vacation. I can't wait for your trip. I hope that you have a wonderful time. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And be sure to subscribe so that you get notified whenever we drop new videos. Thanks again, and have a wonderful trip.